This is Woburn Safari Park, home to some of the most endangered wildlife on the planet. 600 animals, 76 different species. For the first time, the park allows access all areas, from dangerous carnivores to fragile newborns, in unparalleled close encounters. In today's program, bull rhino Kai's aggression towards the females leads to drastic action.
Good boy, good boy.
For recent arrival Yu's in, it's a whole new experience at the lake.
It's probably the first time in 22 years that she would have experienced anything like this.
But everyone's unsure how she'll react. And the newborn giraffe hits the ground with a thump. But will it survive the 2-meter drop? It's midsummer, and temperatures in the park are rising. Whilst some simply enjoy the sunshine, others are getting hot and bothered. And nowhere is that more true than at the Rhino House. Bull Rhino Kai has been at the park for 6 weeks and needs to join the herd of 4 females to start mating. Each time they've introduced him to the girls, it's ended violently. First, he chased away the older females, Ongola and Miriam. Then, alone with the 2 youngsters, he charged them. Rhino used their horns to attack by ramming their targets under the soft, vulnerable part of the leg, and with brute force, lift them off the ground. This can cause serious injury. The keepers now have no choice but to act.
So as to limit the damage that he could cause, we just think it's a sensible option just to take some of his horn off so he hasn't got that impact if he does have another go at one of the girls. So it's really to lessen any injury to them.
At 11 years old, Kai is in his prime and physically much larger than the females.
They're just coming into maturity, so they're obviously a lot smaller and can't defend themselves as well as he can.
The plan is to take off almost half of Kai's horn, which will take 3 years to grow back. Animal manager Keith briefs his team.
We're going to give a full sedation inside the box. If we can just get him down, we're going to be using mechanical aids to chop the horn off. So the fact that he's going to be right out will obviously deafen him with cotton wool and cover his eyes and everything, so he shouldn't know much about it, and it starts like quicker.
Chris goes in alone to sedate Kai. He's trained in firearms and darting procedures. The anesthetic he is using is highly dangerous to humans. A single drop into the bloodstream is fatal.
You have to go right down. Right down.
The best place to dart the rhino is on the neck, where the skin is thinner. Chris has to wait for Kai to be in the right position before he can fire.
Right, steady, good boy, good boy, good boy. Easy, easy.
The aim is perfect, but there's a problem.
That dart's not gone off.
It's not going off.
I don't think it has.
The plunger in the dart that releases the sedative has malfunctioned.
One of those things that can happen when you're darting. It might be as simple as a bit of fat inside the body has blocked the needle, or for some reason the pressure relieved before it got there. This is the inexact science of darting sometimes. It's just one of those things.
The team want to retrieve the dart so they can refire it. Chris protects himself and approaches Kai to pull it out by hand. But the rhino is now suspicious of anyone coming near him. Keeper Nick uses food to tempt Kai towards him. As Kai slowly moves forward, Chris edges into position. He has to be very careful. He's going to have to reach in through the bars. But one sudden move from Kai, and his arm could be crushed, or the dart could go off, spraying its deadly contents. Chris only manages to pull out the feather. The rest of the dart is still in Kai, and now getting near the agitated rhino will be difficult. The team has to come up with another plan. The hot summer weather brings with it a new task for the keepers. They have to devise ways to help the animals cope with the heat. Tara has come up with a refreshing way of cooling down the carnivores.
I'm cutting up some horse meat into small pieces today, and it's going to be used for making ice lollies, same as we have ice lollies and things to refresh us, keep us nice and cool in the hot weather. It's nice to give the animals the exact same thing. Whilst the meat and the water's freezing, it actually drains the blood out as well. So when the lollies are done, they'll actually come out a nice red colour from all the blood inside the meat. It gives it a better flavour for the animals, so they get the actual taste of the meat and the blood all the way through the lolly that way.
After freezing the lollies at -6 centigrade, the makeshift ice cream van does its rounds of the park's predators.
Good boy, George. Here you go. Good boy.
The animal customers tuck in. The Siberian tigers, used to the cold climes of northern Asia, relish their icy snacks. But it's a typical English summer, and the weather has turned quickly. Sheltering from the drizzle is one of the oldest domesticated African species.
The Ankoli cattle are basically the African domestic cattle. They're held usually by the Ankoli tribe and the Watusi tribe, which gives them their name.
These striking-looking cattle have horns that can grow up to 2.5 meters from tip to tip and can weigh up to 700 kilos. In Africa, the more Ankoli you have, the greater your kudos. Woburn too is about to boost its own status.
We've got 5 Ankoli cattle out there. We've got Mitch, who's the bull, and then we've got 4 older females in the group, and then we've got 3 young females who've come over from Knowsley Safari Park to inject a little bit of life within the herd and to be able to allow us to breed within the future.
The new Ankoli are still inside the truck they arrived in. Once released, they will spend a day in their own separate paddock, but the team are going to have to be cautious, as getting them out has its own dangers.
We'll have a Land Rover in there as well, just for safety, because the tailgate is manual, just for Kevin to be able to jump into should he need to.
Hold on a second, hold on. Just make sure everything's all right.
And then we'll just let them come off in their own time, their own pace, and not sort of hassle them too much, because they'll be quite spooked, quite nervous anyway.
They may not look fierce, but like any large animal, if they're frightened, they can deliver a fatal blow.
If you're in the way, they could impact a fair lot of damage to any human being or even death. So it's got to be very careful.
The longer the Ankoli stay in the vehicle, the more stressed they become. So Kevin wastes no time in releasing them. The newcomers can now settle in their own paddock first, before joining the others. Kevin must wait for the right moment. Sasha edges the safety car closer in case of trouble. two adult females and the youngster head off to explore their new home. Tomorrow, they'll come face to face with the rest of the herd and the bigger beasts of the African plain. Today, the park is bathed in sunshine, and there's a special treat in store for the Asian elephants. Adjoining Woburn Safari Park is an area of private woodland belonging to the Duke of Bedford. On hot days, the elephant keepers have access to these grounds. The females are led through the forest and down to the freshwater lake for a cooling swim.
Go, Dan, move up. Come on, Dan, good girl, move up. Move up. Good girl, Dan, good.
Move up.
Good girl, Danny, move up.
I think there's only two places in Europe that walk their elephants out, and nobody's got anything that's quite matches this. With Damini and Chandrika, they've been here for 14 years, so they're used to this whole routine. You know, knowing the summer that they get this, it's an extra special treat for them.
For the latest member of the herd, this will be a totally new experience. Yuzin arrived from Burma a year ago. This will be her first dip in the lake. Elephants love to swim, but the keepers can't be sure how Yuzin will react.
Yeah, it's a very exciting day for Yuzin. This is the first time that she's been walked out into this estate and to this woodland. So it's probably the first time for 22 years that she would have experienced anything like this. Obviously, we don't know what happened in Burma, whether she was used to the forest, whether she was used to water. So this could be the first time that she's ever experienced a body of water like this.
Yuzin is the oldest and dominant female of the group, but today she's happy to let the younger two take charge. Chandrika takes a plunge in the deep end. And Damini too is straight into the cooling water. Elephants can drink up to 150 litres of fresh water every day. And while they're here, they might drink from the lake too. Damini gently leads Yuzin out. The keepers can now relax, as Yuzin seems perfectly content. Damini and Chandrika relish the time spent in their favourite spot. It seems like a dangerous charge. In fact, it's a playful sprint.
I think these calls are just letting Yuzin know where they are and just calling Yuzin out of the water. I think Damini and Chandrika are just on a guide her and make sure that she knows what the deal is while they're down here.
It's fantastic to see Yuzin in the water, you know, from what she's come to be able to bring her down and just swim about in the lake. It's just fantastic. A big tick in the box for us.
And after the swim, it's over to the local dust bowl.
Well, at the moment, all we can see is 3 bottoms, and they're just throwing dust all over themselves. The reason they do that is to dry themselves off. They rub themselves up and down the trees, because that helps to get rid of any dead skin that's maybe waiting to come off. And the water and the sand is just ideal, you know, to get rid of it.
Yuzin's first swim at Woburn has been a success.
I think she's got 11 out of 10 today, and hopefully we'll carry on. We get good weather and she'll be down here most days having a swim.
monkey jungle, keeper Laura has her own method of cooling down her Barbary macaques and drill monkeys. She bowls out some refreshments.